How's it going? This is Chris, and it's the end of January. Well, it's actually January 30th, but I went ahead and kind of calculated the whole expenses I did for this month. I just kind of wanted to go over the whole situation. And long story short, total amount I ended up spending was right here, 35,000, my bad, 3,546. And that's definitely a lot more than I wanted to spend. But I went ahead and categorized it into these different things just so I can kind of go ahead and see everything. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different categories. And the biggest category, surprisingly, ended up actually being this yellow category, which is going to be pet. This month I did have a pet. I no longer have a pet anymore. My little cat, well, actually big cat Pepe, had to take him to a vet, and he kind of never came back from it, just because of his breathing and everything. So we had to put him down. But that vet bill definitely was a big portion of it. Almost $1,200 for it. But the next biggest portion is going to go ahead and be my other section. And it's kind of weird because this month I just had just different expenses, and the biggest one really being was this right here that you can see. It cost $780, and that was to get my actual retainer back. So I have some new retainers. I got a pair of 3. They're plastic ones, but that was definitely a cost. I kind of threw mine out years ago, but I knew I had to get one eventually, so I just paid for it at that point. I also do have a haircut that I paid $35 for with a $10 tip. I'll get that every few months, so yeah. I also bought some pre-workout, and I bought a book. So I mean, that was really it for other. Next biggest category is going to be rent, $750. There's nothing I can do about that. That's what it's going to be. There's no changing that. And afterwards, surprisingly, the next biggest one is actually car expenses. So throughout the actual month, I ended up spending almost $200 solely on gas. Today, I went ahead and pumped it up for the 5th time this month. Yeah, that's almost $200 this month on gas. I do have an SUV, that's probably why. If I had a sedan, it'd probably be, half of that, maybe a little bit more than half, but it definitely wouldn't be like $200. And next category would be grocery. So at grocery, I was kind of surprised. I ended up spending $171 this month, and some of them were like a bunch of kind of random expenses I did have. Mostly being kind of like right here, you can see I just randomly bought eggs. Because when I went back home, I did bring eggs, but they kind of fell out, so I had to buy eggs again at Market 32. And then I was sick for about a week, so I just bought a bunch of frozen food that time. That's why I kind of labeled it as sick run. More in all these, and yeah, that's about it. So this is kind of skewed just because whenever I go back home, I do get some food from there. I don't really count that as additional cost just because it's already bought beforehand, so I can't really calculate that. But I do know that bill is definitely going to be more up if I just stayed here by myself and I didn't go back home and get some free food or something like that. And next category is going to be utility. So for utility, internet, $56.19. It's the same thing every single month for the past year and a half, about a year and a half since I lived here. So there's no change in that. Now, gas and electric. That changes. That goes from roughly $54 on the low end, and then the most I paid before was like $120. I think this was last year, but there's not too big of a difference there. I'd say it's pretty typical. I can get that a little bit lower, if I didn't turn on the heat a lot, but it's kind of cold, and I don't like freezing, so I'll stick with that being okay. Oops, move that. And so next one on the list is gonna be my takeout section. So takeout, I actually thought I spent a lot more, but it ended up being $129. And during the beginning of the month, I did not want to cook at all, so I ate a lot of takeout. You can see here, I had Chipotle one night, and then later that day I went out with friends, so I had some a poke bowl, sushi, and plus tip. That was $45. Had some more Chipotle, like a few days later, more Chipotle the next day, more Chipotle a few days later for lunch, and then that same day for dinner. An energy drink, I consider that takeout because why not? more Chipotle dinner. And then finally I had chips from the vending machine yesterday. But yeah, at 129, I don't think it's too bad. I thought it was definitely gonna be a lot more. I know I can make it less, probably under 100. But yeah, that's what I spent there so far. And then the final category is gonna be subscriptions, so $100 on subscriptions. And I do have a decent amount of subscription, I'd say. So first one being Spotify, $9.99. I use that probably every single day, so I'm keeping that. It's a for sure one. I have 2 gym memberships, one at Planet Fitness, one at Vent. The main one I do is Vent, and the reason I pay so much for it is because I also want access to the pools and whatever else it gives me. It gives me like a private room, which is where I do my stretches, so I know I use that there. It was mostly for the pool, but recently I haven't really been doing that much, especially this month, so I have to get back on it. But what I'm pretty happy to say is I've been doing splits and handstands, so that definitely was worth it. And then I also have a Planet Fitness. I know it's kind of dumb why I have 2, but the main reason for this one is whenever I go back home, which is once every other week, so like twice a month, I could actually work out. I've been kind of bad whenever I go back home. I do miss it pretty often. I've been getting better. I know I have to do a much better job though, so I don't want that money to go to waste, but I will definitely be using it more when I go home. And plus I can go anywhere too, so if I go out of town or something, boom, I can go ahead and use that as well too. Canva. So Canva, I've had for quite some time. I've used it for some designs. Right now it's mostly used just for these thumbnails over here. That's about it really. And then Audible. I had Audible for a while. I used it, I stopped using it, I used it, I stopped using it. Right now I'm at the point where I'm not using it. I just prefer reading books instead, or listening to podcasts. So that's definitely something I want to take out and just not pay for it anymore. So that's a cancellation I have to go ahead and do. But yeah, 35, 46 is what I spent. This is definitely more than what I usually spend on a month. I kind of went ahead and did a little cost analysis of what I assumed I should be spending instead. So some stuff here, rent's always going to be an expense. So boom, it's there. I gave myself some leeway on some takeout. Like, yeah, I'll have takeout every now and then. Not a lot, but some. I figured I should go ahead and add that to my budget too. And car, I mean, there's no going about that. I can't really save on gas unless I go to like a slightly cheaper pump. But in the end, you know, if it's a few cents, I mean, that's not going to make a real difference. Just make more money at that point. And then pet, I don't have a pet anymore. So that expense is kind of gone now. I do want another pet eventually. I want a kitten. I'm semi-ready, but I still want to wait a little bit. But I definitely do want another cat, want another kitten instead, actually. So I can actually kind of start from scratch there, but that's okay. And then as far as grocery goes, I actually think I'd probably end up spending a little bit more on groceries just because I want to go ahead and buy more variety of foods, a little healthier. But over time, I'll probably be more efficient with that and spend probably less than what I spent this month. But I expect it to be, you know, a little bit higher than usual too. And the other. So other is definitely going to go down. I mean, this is going to go down by like 80% or so. I'm not going to spend $8.55 on a regular basis. Books, yeah, that's what I'm doing more often this year. I made it a goal to actually read 2.5 books every month. I'm on my 2nd book this month, and I have 1 day left, so kind of behind the 8 ball, but it's okay. February will be much better. Pre-workout. I'm going to be buying pre-workout every now and then. It's health related, so that's like an okay expense. I'm fine with that. Haircut. I don't get a haircut very often, so that kind of took it out. I take it every few months, so boom. I don't expect to go ahead and do that on a regular basis. Retainer. I'm not going to do that. That's like a once every, 5 years, 10 years kind of thing. Maybe not 10 years, but I expect roughly $1,500 to pay each month now. And now over here, right above my nice little pie chart, you can kind of see what my new budget entails of. So went ahead and put housing and utilities roughly at $900. That's why I budget for instead. Takeout, gave myself $100 instead of the instead of the $129, $100 a month. That's fine. Subscriptions, $100, which I actually should change to $85 because I do plan on taking this one out, so that's $15 less than what I'm paying now. So $85, boom. Grocery, I know I spent $171, but I do Plan on spending a little bit more too, especially whenever I'm just here instead of going back home. So I upped that to $200 a month. Car, it's gonna change throughout the months depending on how much I drive, where I go, if I take long trips or not, how many times I go back home. But I kind of left it where it is. I left it at roughly $200. And then other. So like I said, my other was $855 this month. It's not gonna be anywhere near that. I just left it at $150. I know I'm gonna do little purchases here and there, like, I'll buy a book once a month, maybe some training kind of stuff. I'm not gonna do these things, but also expect to like some leisure stuff too. So I should really put that other as leisure. Yeah, it's good. So other slash leisure would be $150 a month, and totaling to roughly $1635. It's kind of off from here, but that's kind of the estimate I gave myself. So this is going to be my new budget, and this is something I kind of want to do every single month, so I can kind of hold myself accountable, kind of posting it too, just to see what I spend, what I don't spend, everything like that. But yeah, I mean, this video wasn't really meant for entertainment. It was sort of just informational stuff. If you liked it, let me know. If you want like a different format, let me know. Let me know what you thought of it in general too. But yeah, hope you had a great January. Let's do a much better February. And I also want to do an update on how my January went for car sales too, because it was not a good month. But that's my fault, and I know that. So stay tuned in. Take care.